I never thought a simple grocery receipt would destroy my entire marriage. My name is Emily, and until 6 months ago, I believed I had the perfect life. A nice house in Charlotte, North Carolina. 2 wonderful kids, Noah and Ellie. And a husband, Mark, who, for 13 years, I thought was my rock. We met in college. Fell hard. Built a life from scratch. We weren't rich, but we were steady. Solid. Or so I thought. It started on a Wednesday. I remember because it was grocery day, and I had sent Mark to pick up milk and cereal on his way home from work. He never did errands without complaining, but he went anyway, grumbling the whole time. He tossed the receipt on the counter when he got home. Something about it caught my eye. It wasn't the total. It was the item listed right above the milk, a bouquet of flowers. He hadn't come home with flowers. Not for me. I asked casually, "Hey, did you forget the flowers in the car?" He looked up from his phone, blinked, and said, "What flowers?" That was my first gut punch. The next morning, I did something I never thought I'd do. I checked his phone while he was in the shower. His passcode was still the same, our anniversary. Cute, right? I wasn't looking for much. Maybe a clue. A name. Something to ease the pit in my stomach. But what I found was her. Can't wait to see you again. Last night was perfect. It was sent just 2 nights ago. From someone saved as LJ. I didn't cry. Not yet. I just stood there, heart pounding, phone in hand, steam from the shower fogging up the mirror like in a movie. Only this wasn't a movie. This was real. This was my husband. By the time he got out of the shower, I was sitting on the edge of the bed, phone in hand. "Who's LJ?" I asked, not even trying to hide the edge in my voice. Mark froze. Like, literally froze. Towel around his waist, dripping wet, staring at me like a deer in headlights. "I don't know what you're talking about." Another gut punch. He didn't even flinch before lying. I held up the phone. "Last night was perfect?" "Who is she?" He didn't answer. Just walked past me, grabbed a pair of pants, and said, "You're overreacting." That was when I started to cry. Not from sadness. From rage. "You're sleeping with someone. Aren't you?" He didn't say yes. But he didn't say no, either. That silence? It was louder than any confession. I packed a bag that day. Not for me, for the kids. I needed space. Clarity. I told him we were going to my sister's place in Asheville for the weekend. He didn't stop me. No begging. No explanation. Nothing. It was like he had been waiting for a way out. But the worst part? The kids had no idea. Ellie, who's 7, thought we were going on a little vacation. Noah, 10, asked if Daddy was coming. I told him, maybe next time. That night at my sister's, after the kids fell asleep on the pull-out couch, I sat in the kitchen with a glass of wine, shaking. "I can't believe this is happening," I told Lisa. She nodded, not shocked. "I never liked him." "Why didn't you tell me?" I asked. She shrugged. "Because you were in love. And I didn't want to be the sister who ruined your marriage." The next twist came faster than I expected. 2 days later, Mark called me. "I need to talk," he said. "In person." I agreed. I thought maybe, just maybe, he'd come clean. Apologize. Fight for us. Instead, he showed up with divorce papers. That's when I knew, he wasn't just cheating. He was leaving. I read the papers with trembling hands. He wanted joint custody. Equal everything. He made it sound fair. Logical. Cold. "I can't believe you did this," I whispered. He sat there, looking at me with eyes I no longer recognized. "We haven't been happy for a long time, Em." "I was happy," I said. Then you weren't paying attention. He left without saying goodbye to the kids. 3 days later, I was at home again. My home. The one we shared. I walked through the living room like a ghost, pausing by every framed photo, every memory. Our wedding. The kids' birthdays. Summer vacations. All of it felt like a lie now. That's when I found the second gut punch. An envelope. Stuffed in the drawer of his desk. Addressed to LJ. It was a letter. Not an email. Not a text. A letter. Handwritten. Pages of it. I've never felt this alive. I'm sorry I didn't meet you sooner. I'm ending things with Emily this week. I see a future with you. My knees buckled. I didn't even cry this time. I just laughed. Hysterically. Because the man I married, the man I had kids with, was writing love letters to someone else like he was in a damn Nicholas Sparks novel. I wanted to burn it. Tear it apart. But I didn't. I kept it. Proof. Maybe for court. Maybe for myself. The next twist? I googled her. LJ was Lindsay Jameson. She worked at his office. I found her on LinkedIn. Blonde. Polished. Mid-30s. Divorced. Marketing executive. Exactly the type he used to roll his eyes at during company parties. I stared at her profile picture, wondering what she had that I didn't. Why he chose her over our family. I considered calling her. Confronting her. But I didn't want to give her the satisfaction. Instead, I made another decision. One that would change everything. I called a lawyer. And I made a list. Not of what I was losing, but of what I still had. Noah's laugh. Ellie's sleepy hugs. My job as a nurse, which I had put on the back burner for years. My own name. My own spine. And a fire inside me I hadn't felt in a long, long time. He was done? Fine. But I wasn't going to let him leave with my dignity, too. So I made a promise to myself. This wasn't going to break me. It was going to build me. Even if it meant starting over from scratch. Even if it meant facing him again in court. Even if it meant raising 2 kids with a man who no longer loved me. Because I still loved me. And maybe, that was the beginning of something better. The hardest part wasn't the betrayal, it was pretending I was okay for the kids. I moved through the days like a machine. Wake up, feed the kids, drive them to school, come home, breathe, pretend, repeat. People talk about heartbreak like it's dramatic, screaming in the rain, throwing plates. But for me, it was quiet. Empty. Like someone had turned the volume down on my life. Mark barely texted, only to ask about visitation. The kids still didn't know the truth. I wasn't ready to explain why Daddy suddenly didn't live here anymore. My lawyer said we had a case, especially with that letter. But court meant confrontation. And I wasn't ready. Not yet. Instead, I turned my focus to something else, going back to work. I hadn't worked full-time since Ellie was born. But the hospital I used to work at had an opening, pediatric wing, night shifts. It wasn't ideal, but it was something. I needed income. I needed independence. I needed a reason to get out of bed that wasn't just breakfast and backpacks. When I showed up for the interview, my hands were shaking. Not because I wasn't qualified, I knew I was, but because I wasn't sure if I could still be her. The nurse. The caregiver. The woman who wasn't Mark's wife. The nursing director looked at my resume, nodded slowly, then said, "We remember you. You were one of the good ones." I left with the job offer in hand. I cried in the car. Not because I was sad. Because I felt, for the first time in weeks, like me again. Then came the unexpected knock at the door. It was a Friday night. Ellie was doing puzzles on the rug. Noah was gaming. I opened the door and saw him, Mark. He looked tired. Hollow. Like the affair hadn't given him what he hoped for. I just wanted to see the kids, he said. I stepped outside and closed the door behind me. Unannounced? On a Friday night? He sighed. I miss them. I folded my arms. Then maybe you shouldn't have walked out. His voice dropped. I didn't walk out on them. I walked out on us. That hit me harder than it should have. Same thing, Mark, I said. Because when you broke me, you broke all of us. He looked like he might say something more. But instead, he left. No apology. No fight. Just silence. The next day, his lawyer emailed mine. He was pushing for shared custody, alternating weeks. I couldn't breathe when I read that. Are you okay with that? My lawyer asked over the phone. No, I said firmly. He's not a stranger to them. But he is to me now. We prepared for mediation. In the meantime, I threw myself into work. The hospital became my therapy. The kids at the pediatric wing didn't care about my broken heart. They needed stories, songs, comfort. They gave me purpose. One night, during rounds, a fellow nurse named Jenna leaned over and whispered, "You've got that quiet strength. The kind people notice." It was the kindest thing anyone had said to me in months. But the story took another turn, of course. Because Mark wasn't done hurting me. One afternoon, Ellie came home from a visit with him and said, "Daddy has a new friend. Her name is Lindsay. She has a dog." I felt my stomach drop. He was introducing her to our children. No call. No warning. Just, "Here's the woman I cheated on your mom with, meet her puppy." I called him immediately. "You introduced them to her?" He didn't even deny it. "They're going to see her eventually." "You could have told me." "I don't have to ask your permission." I clenched the phone. "This isn't about permission, Mark. This is about respect." Silence. And then, "I'm sorry you're still so angry." That was the last thing I heard before I hung up. Still angry? He had no idea. A week later, in mediation, he smiled like we were just business partners finalizing a deal. I, on the other hand, was holding back tears and fire. My lawyer slid the letter across the table. This proves he left the marriage emotionally long before he left physically. Mark turned pale. Lindsay's name was right there. In his handwriting. The mediator asked me what I wanted. And for the first time, I said it clearly, I want primary custody. I want stability for the kids. I want to rebuild our life without surprise girlfriends and midweek chaos. Mark looked stunned. Maybe he expected me to crumble. But I didn't. Not anymore. The mediation didn't end that day. But I knew I'd made my voice heard. That night, Noah came into my room and asked, "Mom, is Dad your enemy now?" I pulled him close and whispered, "No, baby. He's not the enemy. But he's not the same man anymore." "But do you still love him?" God, that question cut deep. I took a long breath and said, "I love the version of him that gave me you. But not who he is now." He nodded like he understood. Kids are smart. Smarter than we give them credit for. Later, I stared at the ceiling, thinking about that word, enemy. Was Mark my enemy? Or just, the storm I had to survive? 2 weeks later, something strange happened. Lindsay reached out to me. She emailed me. Not to apologize, not exactly, but to say she didn't know he was still with me when they started seeing each other. "I believed him when he said it was over," she wrote. I didn't reply. I didn't owe her anything. But I read the message over and over, wondering if she was telling the truth. Wondering if she, too, had been betrayed. Mark was charming. He always knew what to say. Maybe she had been played, too. Still, she had my children around her now. So whatever my feelings were, I needed to find a way to navigate it with grace. For them. I began to change in ways I hadn't expected. I wore mascara again. I bought a new dress, just for me. I took the kids hiking on weekends. I started laughing more. Eating better. Sleeping deeper. Pain, it turns out, is a terrible teacher but a brilliant motivator. One morning, Ellie saw me putting on earrings and said, "You look pretty, Mommy." "Thank you, sweetie." Like, happy pretty. That meant more than any compliment from Mark ever had. Because I was becoming someone else. Not the woman he left. But the woman he never saw clearly to begin with. But then, the next blow came. Mark showed up again. This time, holding another letter. But not for Lindsay. For me. I made a mistake, it began. I thought I wanted something new. Something exciting. But what I had was real. "I miss you. Us. The way you looked at me when I walked in the door. The way you believed in me when I didn't deserve it. I know it's probably too late. But I had to say it." I didn't finish reading. I folded it, placed it in the drawer where his first letter lived, and walked away. Because this time? I did believe it was too late. Closure doesn't come when they say sorry, it comes when you stop needing them to. By the time I got Mark's second letter, I was done asking why. Why he did it. Why he chose her. Why he thought I'd still be waiting. I'd spent months untangling myself from the knots of our history. And the moment I read, "I miss us," I felt nothing. Not rage. Not sadness. Not hope. Just silence. And honestly, that silence felt like peace. That weekend, I took the kids to my parents' place up in Asheville. Clean air. Trees. Distance. My mom made her famous blueberry pancakes, and Dad took Noah fishing. It felt good to let someone else hold the reins for a few days. One morning, as I was sipping coffee on the porch, my mom sat beside me and said gently, "You seem lighter." I nodded. I think I finally let go. She didn't say, "I'm proud of you." She didn't need to. Her hand on mine said enough. Later that evening, Ellie asked if Daddy was coming next time. "No, sweetie," I said. "This trip is just ours." She blinked. "So, he's not part of our family anymore?" That question again. Always from the kids. Always twisting my heart. I kneeled down. "He's still your daddy. And you'll always be his little girl. But some families change. And that's okay." She didn't cry. She just hugged me. Hard. Back home, things moved fast. Mark's lawyer backed off the shared custody claim. My lawyer said he suddenly decided to prioritize the kids' routine. Translation, he realized I wasn't bluffing. I was awarded primary custody. Mark got weekends and one night a week. It wasn't perfect. But it was fair. I dropped off the kids for their first weekend with him, and Lindsay was at the door. She looked nervous, almost guilty. I said nothing. She reached out and whispered, "For what it's worth." "I'm sorry." I didn't say, "I forgive you." I didn't say, "It's okay." I said, "Take care of my babies." And walked away. 3 weeks later, I got a call. Not from Mark. From his boss. Apparently, he'd been under investigation for misreporting expenses. Travel reimbursements. Hotel receipts that didn't match itineraries. He wasn't fired yet, but it didn't look good. I sat on my bed, processing it, and something hit me. This man was unraveling. Not because I left. But because I was never the problem. He was. The next week, something happened I didn't expect. I met someone. His name was Daniel. A single dad, also working at the hospital, radiology tech. We bumped into each other in the staff lounge over spilled coffee and awkward small talk. He had kind eyes. A gentle voice. And this quiet way of listening like nothing else existed but the words you were saying. We didn't flirt. We just talked. About kids. About shift work. About trying to rebuild a life while parenting full-time. At the end of the week, he asked, "Would it be weird if I invited you for coffee when we're not both in scrubs?" I smiled. A little. Then added, "But I'd still say yes." Our first coffee was in a quiet spot near the lake. No pressure. No expectations. He didn't ask about Mark. I didn't ask about his ex. We talked about books. Movies. Parenting fails. Real life. He made me laugh, the deep kind of laugh that surprises you, like your body forgot how and just remembered. Afterward, I called my best friend Jen and told her everything. She gasped. "You went on an actual date?" I grinned. "Coffee isn't a date. Girl, with a cute single dad and your eyes lit up? It's a date." I laughed. Then yeah. I guess I did. Meanwhile, Mark was spiraling. He started showing up late for pickups. Canceling last minute. Once, he dropped the kids off an hour early without warning because he had something come up. I didn't yell. I didn't even argue. I just documented everything. Every missed visit. Every passive-aggressive text. Every broken promise. Because I knew the day might come when I'd need to fight for full custody. And this time, I'd be ready. Daniel and I kept seeing each other. He never pushed. Never rushed. Just showed up. One night, after a particularly long shift, we sat in the hospital parking lot. I was tired, emotionally spent. I said, "I'm not ready for anything serious." He nodded. "Then let's keep it simple. You be you. I'll be here." I blinked. Just like that? Just like that. It felt strange, being with someone who didn't demand anything. Who didn't need fixing or fixing me. It felt safe. Then came the big one. Noah got into a fight at school. The principal called. He pushed another boy during recess. Apparently, the boy said his dad didn't love him anymore. My heart sank. At home, I sat with him on the edge of his bed. "You want to talk about it?" I asked. He shrugged. "That kid was being mean." "I know, honey. But fighting doesn't help." He said Dad left us because we were boring. I felt tears rise but forced them back. "That's not true. None of this is your fault." He looked up at me. "Then why did he leave?" Deep breath. Sometimes grown-ups make mistakes. Big ones. But that doesn't mean you're not enough. You are. You always have been. He crawled into my lap like he did when he was little. And I held him like my arms were the only place left in the world that made sense. That night, I got a text from Mark. "Heard what happened. Want to talk?" For once, I didn't reply. Because I finally realized. I didn't need to talk. I needed to live. A week later, Daniel invited me to a park picnic, just him, me, his daughter, and my kids. It was simple. Sandwiches. Frisbee. Juice boxes. And laughter. So much laughter. At one point, Noah leaned toward me and whispered, "He's nice." I smiled. "Yeah, he is." Then Ellie added, "Are you gonna marry him?" Daniel overheard and choked on his soda. We all burst out laughing. It was awkward. And beautiful. And real. Later that night, as I tucked the kids in, I sat by the window, sipping tea. Mark's second letter was still in the drawer. But I didn't need to reread it. Because I knew how it ended. With me choosing myself. With me saying no to the man who walked away. With me opening the door to something new, not because I was rescued, but because I rose. Sometimes the strongest thing you can do is not hold on, but let go with grace. I didn't expect to see Mark again. Not like that. Not on a Wednesday afternoon. Not standing on my front porch looking like he'd aged 5 years and 6 months. His shirt was wrinkled. Hair unkempt. Eyes tired. The kids were at school. I opened the door, arms folded. "You're early. It's not your day." He took a breath. "I'm not here for the kids." I stepped outside, closed the door behind me. "Then say what you came to say." He looked at the ground, then up at me, and for a second, just a second, I saw the man I used to know. "I lost my job," he said. "They let me go last week." I tried to fight it, but I didn't blink. I heard. His voice cracked. "Lindsay left." Now that I hadn't heard. She said I wasn't the man she thought I was. He laughed bitterly. Funny how that line comes full circle. I didn't gloat. I didn't say I told you so. I just asked, "Why are you really here?" His eyes met mine. "Because I messed up. And I know sorry isn't enough, but I had to say it anyway. You didn't deserve what I did to you." I waited. I was selfish. I thought chasing something new would make me feel alive again. But all it did was show me how good I already had it, and how badly I destroyed it. I crossed my arms tighter. "So, what? You want me to forgive you?" He shook his head. "I don't expect forgiveness. I didn't want you to think I left because of you. You were the best part of my life, and I threw it away." I was quiet for a long moment. The wind moved through the trees. I could hear a lawnmower down the street. The world didn't pause for us. "I used to cry myself to sleep wondering what I did wrong," I said softly. "But I know now. I didn't do anything. You made a choice." "I know. And I made one too." He swallowed hard. "Are you seeing someone?" I gave him a steady look. "Yes." He blinked. Looked away. "Is he good to them?" "The kids love him." "That's all you need to know." Mark's shoulders sagged. He nodded. "That's good. That's real good." I didn't offer comfort. I didn't offer closure. That wasn't my job anymore. "You should go." He hesitated. "Can I say goodbye to you properly?" I tilted my head. "You already did. The night you packed your things." He nodded slowly. "Take care, Emma." And just like that, he walked away. For real this time. Later that night, I told Daniel about the visit. He didn't flinch. He didn't get jealous. He just took my hand. "How are you feeling?" "Lighter," I said. And I meant it. 3 months later, we were carving pumpkins in Daniel's backyard with the kids. His daughter, Mia, and Ellie had formed their own little squad. Noah had taken up skateboarding and was thriving in his new school. The change in them, in all of us, was undeniable. We laughed. We teased. We shared stories. Daniel looked at me, flour dust in his hair from earlier baking mishaps, and said, "Do you ever think about how far you've come?" I nodded. "Sometimes it feels like another lifetime." He smiled. "You're strong, you know." I looked at my kids. At the setting sun. At the man beside me. "No," I said. "I'm whole. I still have Mark's last text. I didn't delete it. I hope you find happiness, even if it's not with me." I didn't reply. Because I didn't find happiness. I built it. From ashes. From pain. From betrayal. I built a life I'm proud of. Not perfect. But real. A few weeks later, Daniel and I took the kids to a winter festival. Lights, cocoa, sleigh rides. Noah actually smiled for a family photo, and Ellie made a snow angel in the middle of the sidewalk. As we walked back to the car, Daniel grabbed my hand and said, "You ever wonder if the hard parts led us here for a reason?" I squeezed his hand. All the time. Because sometimes, the worst moments are the ones that crack you open, just wide enough for the light to get in. If you're listening to this and going through your own heartbreak, your own betrayal, I want you to know something. You don't need revenge. You don't need to win them back. You don't need to prove anything. You just need to keep going. Because someday, when you least expect it, you'll wake up, pour a cup of coffee, and realize you made it. Not because they came back, but because you came back to yourself. And that's the real victory.